Okay, so are we alone? I mean, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
We're diving into some fascinating research on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, this stuff is straight out of science fiction, except it's totally real. All in Spanish, by the way. Just imagine this. If the universe's lifespan was like a single year, like Carl Sagan's cosmic calendar, humans wouldn't even show up until the very last minute of December 31st. Wild, right?
It really puts things into perspective. Think about it. 13.8 billion years, give or take. That's the age of the universe. And we've only been around for what, a few 100,000?
A blink of an eye, and yet here we are searching the cosmos, wondering if anyone else is out there. So where do we even start with a question this massive?
Well, I think a good place to begin is with those who first dared to listen. Even in the early days of radio astronomy, scientists were picking up these strange signals from space.
Oh, you mean like the WOW signal? That was 1977, right? A telescope in Ohio picks up this crazy strong burst of radio waves.
That's the one. Lasted a full 72 seconds.
72 seconds.
Blasting out from somewhere near the constellation Sagittarius, by the way. And get this, it was 30 times louder than anything they'd ever heard before. The astronomer on duty, he actually wrote, "Wow," on the printout.
You wrote, wow. I mean, I guess I would too, right? But what made them think it could be aliens? Was it just that it was super loud?
It fit a lot of the criteria for what scientists thought an artificial signal might look like. For one, it was narrowband, meaning it was focused on a very specific frequency. And the way the frequency drifted, it suggested that it was coming from a rotating planet.
Like a beacon from a spinning world. Okay, now that is straight out of Star Trek. What else?
Well, and this is where it gets even more interesting. There was this alphanumeric sequence embedded in the signal, 6EQUJ5.
Wait, so it wasn't just random noise, it was like a code.
It seemed deliberate, almost like, like someone or something was trying to get our attention.
And they just stopped.
Sadly, yes. Despite countless attempts, no one has ever been able to find that signal again. It's like it just vanished.
A cosmic ghost story. So, if a shout that loud can disappear like that, how do we even wrap our heads around finding intelligent life out there?
That's where the Drake equation comes in. Not so much about a definitive answer, but more like a framework for all the possibilities.
I've heard of that, but full disclosure, Math and I aren't exactly best friends. What's the ELI5 version?
Think of it like baking a cake. You need the right ingredients in the right amounts. Except here, the ingredients are things like how many stars are forming in our galaxy, how many of those stars have planets.
Okay, so like the conditions for life to even get started in the first place. But that still feels, I don't know, super overwhelming.
It is, and it gets even more complex. The Drake equation also looks at the chances of life on those planets actually becoming intelligent, building technology. And then this is key, sending out signals we could actually pick up on.
There's the catch, right? Even if there are other civilizations, there's no guarantee we'd even know they were there. Maybe their tech is different, or those signals just haven't reached us yet.
Exactly. When this equation was first dreamed up, back in the 1960s, most of those ingredients were, educated guesses. But then everything changed.
The Kepler mission, right?
Yeah.
That space telescope that found, like, thousands of planets.
Exactly. Kepler launched in 2009, and honestly, it blew the doors wide open on what we thought we knew about planets outside our solar system. Suddenly, we weren't speculating, we had data, tons of it.
Yeah, remember those headlines? Thousands of new planets. It was like Kepler just pointed at the sky and said, look, they're everywhere.
It kind of did, and that gave us way better numbers to plug into that Drake equation we were talking about, especially that big one. What percentage of stars actually have planets?
And it's a lot, right? I mean, we're not just talking flukes here. Planets are actually pretty common.
Way more common than we thought. It's like one astronomer said, planets are as common as cheap hotels. They're everywhere.
Okay, so lots of planets, got it. But even if they're everywhere, doesn't the Drake equation still kind of leave us with more questions than answers? Like, even if life pops up on one of these planets, what are the chances it's intelligent? That it builds stuff, technology?
That's fair. But the cool thing is, the more we learn about space, the less daunting those what-ifs become. For example, thanks to Kepler, we're pretty sure that a good chunk of stars out there, they probably have rocky planets. And not just any planets, but ones in what we call the habitable zone. That sweet spot where liquid water, and therefore maybe life, could exist.
So we're not talking about just any planets. We're talking about planets that could actually support, life as we understand it, which is still a lot of maybes.
Sure. But keep in mind, that's just our galaxy we're talking about. There are billions of galaxies out there. Billions. Even if the odds of life on any single planet are super slim, just the sheer scale of the universe?
Well, it makes it statistically unlikely that we're alone.
Right. Kind of like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Your chances with one ticket, infinitesimally small. But someone's going to win eventually, right? But that brings up a whole other question. Say there are other civilizations out there. How do we even begin to have a conversation with them?
Now there's the million-dollar question. And believe me, it's one that's been keeping scientists and science fiction writers up at night for decades.
Weren't there those golden records we sent out on the Voyager spacecraft?
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, wasn't it? Like a message in a bottle tossed into the cosmic ocean?
Exactly. Still out there drifting through interstellar space. They've got music, greetings in like 55 languages, even sounds of nature from Earth.
It's kind of trippy to think about. What if we found something like that just floating around our solar system? Would we even know what we were looking at?
Makes you think, huh? And that wasn't our only attempt. Remember the Arecibo message?
Refresh my memory.
1974. We basically beamed a radio signal at a distant star cluster, packed it with basic info about humans, where we are in space, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. And didn't those Pioneer spacecraft, the ones launched even before Voyager, have those plaques on them with, like, drawings of humans and a map to Earth? We've been sending out cosmic "we're here" signals for a while now.
We have. But these things are really, really hard to design. How do you make a message that anything could understand? We don't even know if aliens see the universe the way we do.
Right. Maybe they don't understand math the way we do, or physics, or art, like trying to explain Shakespeare to a dog.
You get it. Which brings up a whole other fascinating and kind of scary thought.
So we've talked about how mind-blowingly huge the universe is,
Yeah.
and how there are probably tons of planets out there that could support life.
Billions, probably.
But then there's that other question that kind of hangs over everything.
Yeah.
If they're out there, where is everybody?
The Fermi paradox. Gets you thinking, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, you think about it logically. The universe is old. Really, really old. Plenty of time for other intelligent life to pop up, right?
Do you think so?
And yet, nothing. So what's the answer? Is there even one? Or are we just stuck with a giant cosmic question mark?
Well, there are a few ideas floating around out there, and they're all pretty wild. One thought is that maybe, just maybe, we're only limited by our own tech.
What do you mean?
Well, imagine trying to pick up a radio signal, but back in, say, the 1500s. Impossible, right? The tech to even understand those waves wouldn't exist for centuries.
Okay.
So what if alien civilizations, maybe they're communicating in ways we haven't even dreamed of yet?
Whoa. So we could be surrounded by alien chatter and not even know it.
It's possible. And even if we could hear them, the distances involved, those are huge. A message even from a few hundred light years away.
That'd take, what, hundreds of years to get here?
At least. More like thousands, or even longer. So, interstellar chit-chat, more like sending a message in a bottle through the cosmic seas. But there's another theory, and it's kind of humbling.
Okay, hit me.
What if, and just go with me on this one, what if we're just not that interesting?
Ouch.
No, think about it. You're a scientist studying ants.
Right.
You're watching them, maybe even poking them a bit. But are you going to sit down and try to have a deep philosophical conversation with an ant?
Point taken. So we're the ants in this scenario.
Maybe we're just a blip on the cosmic radar. Curious to observe, sure, but not exactly prime candidates for interstellar diplomacy.
Okay, so we're either too primitive to hear them or too boring to talk to. Any other cheerful options?
One more. And it's a bit of a downer, to be honest. The Great Filter Hypothesis. It basically says there might be something out there, some kind of universal obstacle that prevents most civilizations from getting too advanced.
Too advanced how?
Like they wipe themselves out before they can reach out to others. Maybe it's nuclear war, maybe something else entirely. But they hit a wall, and that's it, game over.
So we haven't encountered anyone else because they didn't make it. That's kind of dark.
It is, but the Fermi paradox, it forces us to confront these big, uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? Not only about whether we're alone, but about our own potential, the good and the bad.
It does. But for now, all we can do is keep looking, keep listening. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll find out we're not so alone after all. And that's it for today's deep dive into the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We'll see you next time for more explorations into the unknown.